Are you finding it hard to stick to your study sessions, or how can you retain much information while studying for lesser hours? In this video, I'll share with you the techniques I use to teach myself how to read. Reading is actually very easy. Most people find reading difficult, but it's because they don't know how to apply the techniques, or there are some things you need to do to make reading very easy for you. The ability to engage with the information you are studying requires a lot more than just scanning through. So I want you to watch till the end because you find it very interesting. First, what does it mean to read? Reading does not just mean looking at words from a page or trying to scan words up from a page. No, reading is a complex process and it involves three main stages. The process of reading involves three main stages, which are decoding, comprehension, and engagement. Before you can say you've read, you have to be able to master those three stages: decoding, engagement, and comprehension. I taught myself how to read by knowing the techniques to use to be able to balance those stages, because there's no how you can say you've read without going through these stages. That's what actually differentiates active reading from passive reading. Most students actually find it difficult in moving across these stages. That's why reading seems very difficult for most people. The first technique I mastered, and which I always do anytime I want to read, is to survey. Now, this survey actually goes a long way. It helps in the decoding stage. Remember, we talked about the stages of reading. So this survey will actually help you to decode effectively. First, all you need to do is to look at the text, look at the headings, scan through diagrams if there are diagrams, and look at every possible headings or subheadings you can do, and try to get a clearer information about what you intend to do. The survey is a technique used to quickly glance over a text to understand the structure, the content, or whatever you want to read. When you glance at a text and understand the structure, you find it more easier to read. It's like taking a snapshot of the text before diving in. When trying to survey, check for key terms. When reading, sometimes you might see some words that are bolded or written in italics. So you try to pick these key terms because they are very important. This helps to build curiosity. It prepares your mind to absorb and retain information. It helps to sharpen your mindset, and which is very important in reading. Let me show you how to survey. Let's say I'm to read a chapter on the water cycle. The first thing I'll do is I'll try to look at the headings. For example, evaporation, condensation. Then I'll try to go through the introduction to get an overview. Then look at the diagrams, the possible diagrams illustrating the water cycle. Then I identify key terms like precipitation, transpiration. By doing this, I get a clearer understanding of the content, and I'll be more prepared to comprehend the information. My brain will have created like this roadmap to make the flow easier. After surveying, you can start reading fully as you have enough idea and this zeal to unfold your curiosity. Before comprehending, there are a lot of things you must do to enable you to be able to comprehend or assimilate effectively. The next technique is to self-explain. Self-explanation actually helps you to go through the comprehension stage. When reading, try to always pause and try to explain what you read to yourself, linking it to what you already know. Self-explanation is a powerful technique that helps in comprehension. Always try to interpret the material you are reading in a way you can easily understand. Let me give you a few tips to make this technique effective. First, try to read actively. That means anytime you read, try to pause and generate explanations for what you just read. Use your own words, whether in reading or in jotting. Paraphrase whatever you've read into your own words. Make connections between different ideas you have. For example, you are reading about reptiles and you come across reptiles are poikilothermic animals. Now, instead of just continue, you try to find out the meaning of poikilothermic. You ask yourself, what's poikilothermic? Try to find out more about that word and explain it to yourself. You can paraphrase it in your own word. This helps a lot. It helps in building up your memory and building up long-term memory storage. Try to build up questions and find out details of whatever you come across. Also, make sure you simplify it to ease your understanding. Always do this while reading. It might look as if you are reading slow, but it helps a lot. You are not just reading words, you're actually learning. The next technique which I always apply whenever I study or read is the retrieval practice and monitor. This will enable you to go through the engagement stage of reading. Remember, I talked about reading into 3 stages: the decoding, comprehension, and engagement. So retrieval practice and monitor will help you go through the engagement stage with ease. This technique is the most vital technique out of all the techniques which I use, and it has helped me very well. The engagement stage has a lot more to do with the retrieval practice. Whenever you are reading, try to recall what you've just read. You might need to close your book. Try to recall. Think of what you've just read. Write them down in bullet points. Sketch out diagrams. Do whatever you need to do to make sure you recall. Practice this every time. This is the retrieval practice, and it is the most powerful way to strengthen your memory. Why is retrieval practice very important? This is why. Anytime you try to pull out information from your memory, you strengthen the pathway between your brain. It's like doing reps in the gym. The brain is like a muscle, so you need to regularly exercise your muscle to build it up, right? So it applies to the brain the same way. So anytime you try to pull out information from your memory, it builds up and strengthens your memory capacity. Rereading it doesn't just build up those memories, but trying to recall it builds it up. This is also known as the retrieval practice. Put this technique into test and apply it anytime you study. You'll be surprised at the outcome of this. Remember, I said retrieval practice and monitor, so you need to add in what we call the cognitive monitoring to your retrieval practice. This simply means checking yourself, asking yourself, do I really understand this, or am I just repeating the words from the textbook? If you can explain it clearly and give examples, then you understand. If you can't do all this, then that's a signal that you need to go back, reread, self-explain again. Basically, in this technique, you are doing 2 things: recalling what you read and trying to know if you really understood it. This turns your reading into like a dialogue, a conversation between you and your textbook, instead of just a one-way self-lecture. With the techniques I've mentioned, you will find it easy to go through the 3 stages of reading very well: the survey, the self-explanation, and the retrieval practice with the monitor. This brings us to the 4th and the last stage of reading, which is the retain. Now, I didn't really talk much about this, but retaining information is as important as the 3 stages of reading. Now, what technique can we use to retain information? The technique you can use to counter this last stage of reading, which is to retain information, is known as the spaced repetition. Now, how does this spaced repetition work? Here's what to do. Create a mini review plan. Plan to review what you've read, either that day or probably the next day. I also make sure I put it in my plan to review 3 days after, then 1 week after. Each review can be super quick, just a few minutes of recall practice. By spacing out your review, you fight against the forgetting curve. Stay tuned, because in subsequent videos, I will talk about the forgetting curve and how the forgetting curve actually affects your ability to retain information. Spacing out your review helps you to shift information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory and helps you to retain effectively. Think of it like watering a plant. If you water a plant just once, it dies. But if you water it at intervals, it grows. This is the difference between reading actively and reading passively. Most students don't actually know the difference. I said earlier, the difference is actually clear. Reading actively and reading passively all lies within the engagement stage. So here's my challenge. For the next 7 days, make sure you pick up something that you want to read and practice it with these active reading techniques. These techniques I taught you, put it into practice. Then after 7 days, that's a week, then try to see how much you remember. I guarantee that you retain much information. If you are joining the challenge, drop a comment in the comment section, and if you find this video very helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. It's not about studying hard, it's about studying smart.